So, a prominent question that this movie keeps asking is how does it feel like to die? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Mickey 17, the latest movie by Bong Joon-ho, the master guy behind the masterful Parasite. That's honestly the main reason why I wanted to go see this movie. I freaking love Parasite, so I'd watch anything by Bong Joon-ho now. And also, I just thought the concept itself was pretty cool. The movie's about this machine that has the ability to reprint someone who has previously died, and this machine is used on Edward Cullen / Batman / the guy from Good Times / the guy from The Lighthouse. Hey, you know what? That would make one heck of a movie. Holy crap, like, can you guys imagine if Bong Joon-ho made a sequel of Mickey 17, but this time, every time he gets reprinted as all of the different roles Robert Pattinson has played? You know what? I'm pitching that now. See you later. Actually, I can't leave you guys behind like that, so I'll pitch it later. But I'm telling you, I am going to see that movie come true. And so, because of this cloning technology, Robert Pattinson's character, the titular Mickey, goes on these very dangerous missions that can easily kill anyone, but it doesn't matter because every time he dies, he just comes back reprinted. But things get really complicated after, in one failed mission where they thought he died, he comes back only to find out that they reprinted him, giving him a doppelganger problem. And after that, stuff happens. So yeah, like I said, I was looking forward to seeing this movie because Bong Joon-ho really did make a really big impression on me after I saw Parasite. And so yeah, like, I just had to see what else this guy was gonna do. Also, I think Robert Pattinson's a really good actor, and yeah. So, how did this movie turn out? Was it worth the hype? Was it a great successor to Parasite? Or does it deserve to be thrown into that pit of lava along with the other Mickeys? Well then, let's find out. So I've already mentioned that I think the concept of this movie is really good. And the reason why I think so is because this is a great idea to give off some really good dark comedy. I really like dark comedy, okay? I love me some good humor that in a different tone, in a serious tone, would be taken like it would be flat out terrifying and awful, but with the right comedic tone, it just cracks you up. And that's what I was looking forward to seeing with this movie. I mean, just imagine all of the ways that Mickey could die in a way that's just funny because you know that ultimately there's no real consequence to it. And like, again, like just imagine all of the great shenanigans that can come with this idea. But the real question is, the idea is good, the potential is great, and it's there. How was the execution of it? Unfortunately, it doesn't go as far as I think it should have. This movie does classify itself as a sci-fi comedy, and unfortunately, it just wasn't that funny. It's not unfunny, like there were definitely plenty of moments where I did chuckle, and even more than chuckle, there were some moments where I did legitimately laugh. But for a great idea like this, that really has so much potential for giving us some hilarious humor, it honestly disappoints on that front. And the reason why it disappoints on it is because it just doesn't go far enough with this concept. It goes into it a bit, but doesn't fully embrace it. It doesn't go to the absurd lengths, to the crazy lengths, to the exaggerated lengths. Instead of fully embracing this concept and really giving us these huge ways it could be done, it instead almost feels like it just kind of tips its toes into it. Maybe not just toes. It doesn't like fully like restrain itself, but like maybe instead of diving into it, It more just tips its legs into it and not much else. Like, it really didn't feel like the movie took real advantage of this concept. It just used a little bit of it, used some of it, showed us some of it and the potential it had, but not much else. Watching these moments, I couldn't help but think back on, say, the movie Edge of Tomorrow, this really underrated Tom Cruise film that's great. That movie had a semi-similar concept of a guy in some way being able to come back after death, and that movie had a great and really funny montage in which he dies but then comes back, and that was done way better, and it honestly is pretty funny. And I also think back on something like that tiny montage in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Like, even then I didn't find it hilarious, but that did do it much better. It could have gone a little farther, but that showed more of just leaning into the dark humor and fully embracing it. Heck, freaking think of Deadpool. I couldn't help but think of Deadpool in this situation and all of the ways this guy doesn't die because he's immortal, but you get my point. I couldn't help but think in all of the hilarious ways in which Deadpool practically dies, but he can't die, and so he comes back. Again, this movie just didn't fully take the opportunity to fully embrace this idea and give us these absurd, ridiculous, and hilarious situations of Mickey dying but then coming back to life. It's a little disappointing because it really could have gone further, but it almost felt slightly restrained. Like it wasn't too interested in diving full on into it. And it's not just with those specific moments of Mickey dying but then coming back to life. Like, that really isn't all that is even the focus of the film. Like, eventually we do have to focus more on the, doppelganger situation and the whole moments of him dying but getting reprinted. That's mostly just for the first act. So how's the rest of the film? Like, is it funny in these different ways? Outside of it, even then, not much, because again, even in those moments, it just doesn't feel like it's going as far as it should. I think back on the moment where he first meets his doppelganger for the first time, and while the reaction of him literally seeing a second of himself right in front of him is done pretty well, again, like, I could myself envision it going even harder. Like, yes, like he gets startled and he even screams and all, but I don't know, man. Like, and again, it was funny. It could have been even funnier, dude. And like, here's the thing. Robert Pattinson's performance in this movie is very good, okay? It's great. He does a really, really good job in this movie. And so why do a lot of these moments not feel like they're reaching their full potential if Robert Pattinson seems to be really giving it his all? I guess it's more a problem of maybe the direction. Maybe they could have added things on set to make it go even further. Maybe they could have added more things on the script to have it go even further. Heck, maybe the editing could have been a little better and have better timing to really make it even more funny, perhaps. But okay, to be fair, even though this movie does classify itself as a sci-fi comedy, it's not supposed to be just a flat-out comedy through and through. There are dramatic parts of it that are supposed to be dramatic. So I guess I understand if it wasn't their intention to go too hilarious, if they wanted for it to be more consistent with the more dramatic parts. But still, I digress. I think it could have still been funnier in some parts without necessarily sacrificing the dramatic parts. But what about the story then? Does this concept reach more of its potential with the plot and with the story? Even then, it's also a little bit messy. The plot, for the most part, is engaging. I did want to know what was going to happen in the next scene. There were some moments that were genuinely intriguing and some moments that were even surprising. I for the majority of the film, did enjoy the plot and enjoy where it was going. Some of the most interesting moments are where the movie delves into a little bit of philosophy. Because of this absurd technology, it does lead to some relatively fascinating things to contemplate on and think about and discuss. It makes you wonder what makes you you. It makes you wonder the ethics of this stuff and the consequences that it can have. And like overall, like it does delve onto some good ideas that can have you thinking and that can fascinate you. But that's just it. It again just delves a little bit into them, but not fully. It doesn't fully get into the philosophical ideas, and so while they are slightly there and in those small moments they are interesting, again, I just couldn't help but be feeling, what if it just fully dived into it and just gave full-on commentary on it and just full-on had discussions about it and made you really think about all of the intricacies of these ideas and the philosophies behind it all and the ethics behind this stuff. But again, similar to the comedy, it again just feels like it's tipping its toes a bit and not much else. There's also this moment in the movie that is a spoiler, and so I'm not gonna get too specific with what happens, but a character does something in the end of the film that when I saw it, like, it didn't felt completely unbelievable, but yeah, it didn't feel like it had the right amount of build-up to make it truly justifiable. It did feel a little bit like it came slightly out of nowhere, and yeah, a little more build-up to it would have been nice. And it's also a really important moment in the movie, like it's basically in the climax, so it is a pretty important choice, and so again, not awful or anything, but could have had more build up to make it even more better and make it make even more sense. But now I want to mention what is one of, if not probably even my biggest problem with the film. If it wasn't for the whole, like with the comedy and the story in general, not really feeling like they're reaching their full potential with this concept, if it wasn't for that, this would easily be my biggest problem with the film. And it's another specific scene in the movie, and so again, I'm not gonna spoil, but I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can without getting into detail. So basically, there's this character in the film who is Mickey's girlfriend. I think her name was Nasha. This character, Nasha, she does something in the film with Mickey and his doppelganger. Won't say what it specifically is, but she does something with them that honestly kind of made it pretty hard to root for her after that moment. It was something that was honestly kind of douchey on her part. And it's not just that it's a douchey, but the characters in the movie don't really mind it too much. No, it's a douchey move that even Mickey himself did not approve of. And yet, after that happened, the film kind of feels like it just decided to not acknowledge it afterwards. And the problem with that is that she's one of the main heroes of the story. She has a pretty significant role in the third act and everything that happens there against the villain of the film. And so the fact that she does this douchey move earlier that doesn't get acknowledged later, it just kind of makes it harder to root for her. And it's also especially questionable because, again, Mickey himself did not approve of this move of her that was, again, like basically directed at him in some way, but even he doesn't acknowledge it afterwards. It's a pretty questionable moment, and it does unfortunately kind of sort of ruin some of the later parts for me a little bit, not completely, because you still have other things to focus on as well. But again, she does still have a significant part in the movie after this scene. And so every time she shows up, and all of the heroic things and good things that she does afterwards, they're kind of ruined for me a bit, because it just doesn't acknowledge what you did later. It's hard to root for you now, and so these moments with her later, yeah, they're just not that effective anymore. And also, that's unfortunately not really the last problem I have with it, because there's also this other character who by no means as bad as the previous problem I mentioned, but also there's this other character which I forgot her name, but the problem with her is that she also, for a certain chunk of the film, had a pretty big role, but after that, not much was done with her, and I would have liked to see more of her in these later parts, because she did have these really interesting moments early on, even if she herself also had some moments that had me going like, why was that important? And like, why was that part of the film? What was the purpose of it? She did have a little bit of that. But she was still an interesting character that I wanted to see more of, and not much was done with her afterwards. Okay, so yeah, from what you have seen so far in this video, I guess you could tell that this movie probably was not that successful in my eyes. And yeah, I gotta be honest, that is a little true. Let me be clear, I did enjoy this movie. It was enjoyable for the most part. When I saw it in the theater, it was a fine enough moment to pass the time. There were moments that did have good humor. Some of the performances were great, and in fact were honestly quite amazing in some moments, especially on Robert Pattinson's part. Some of the ideas were great. Some of the moments were pretty interesting and intriguing and engaging. Yeah, it's a watchable movie, okay? It is a watchable movie. But it is messy too. It is a messy film, and some of the moments in the movie do kind of ruin it a bit and keep it from being as good as it could have. And even without the moments that downgrade the film for me, even with the good stuff, it just doesn't feel like it's going as far as it could, especially with this concept. It doesn't go far enough with the comedy. It doesn't go far enough with the story. It doesn't go far enough with some of the philosophies and stuff. It's with an idea as good as this, and with potential as good as this, it ultimately turned out to be a slightly generic movie. Still watchable, still enjoyable, but it in the end just kind of felt like a whatever movie. The only thing I could think of that did reach its full potential in this movie was the acting. The performances, they were great, especially Robert Pattinson. He really is very good in this film. He's very dedicated, and you can feel that he really is giving it his all with this film. It's just a shame that he wasn't given material that it itself reached its full potential. And so unfortunately his performance and everybody else's performances weren't enough to really elevate this movie to great heights. I'm gonna give Mickey 17 a 6 out of 10. But let me know what you guys think of the movie if you already saw it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that I deserve to be killed and then reprinted and then killed all over again for the rest of my life as punishment of all the things I said regarding this movie? If you think I did, that's fine. I respect you. But hey, nothing against Bong Joon-ho, okay? I still think he's a great talent, and I'm still interested to see what else he could do. I loved Parasite so much that, again, I am interested to watch whatever else he will make, and I definitely have to see all of the other films he's already made. But this one I didn't think was great, but hey, every artist has their faults and their successes, and that's fine. We're human. It really doesn't matter at all. I still wait for the moment where Bong Joon-ho will impress me again, which I'm sure he definitely that moment will definitely come. But yeah, regarding this film, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and God bless you all. Stay tuned if you would like to see more film reviews. Peace out, fellow moviegoers!